I'm joined by Pankaj Pachauri, former press advisor to late Prime Minister Dr Manmohan Singh, senior journalist, a veteran in our profession. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Pachauri, for joining me.
Thank you, Karthikeya.
And let me begin this conversation by asking you, sir, how was it like to work with Dr. Singh as his press advisor?
Thank you. This is a very sad day, and finally, history is caught up. And Dr. Manmohan Singh used to say that history will be kinder to him. And you can see the pictures of today on your channel. That people who were very, I would say, not very nice to him, and had a lot of allegations against him, talked about him. They are all today, जिसे कहते हैं हिंदी में नतमस्तक हैं, और वो इसलिए क्योंकि जो भी वो कर रहे थे डॉक्टर सिंह, he was doing for the good of the nation, and that was uppermost in his mind, whatever he had done. When he sat down for his last address to the nation, I remember he said very clearly that whatever I have done for the good of my nation with best intents and with honesty, and that he had no regrets for his 10-year term, 2 terms of 5 years each. And I remember that day. It was very difficult to make him talk to the press, to coax him into doing television interviews, because he always used to say that my work is going to be my uh, message. And that message has been very clear during the last 10 years after his term was over, that whatever all the work he had done, especially in the first and the second part of his uh, term, was basically directed in marshalling India's entrepreneurship, India's intellectual wealth into providing something to India's people. So, in the first term, most of the time, he was trying to establish India as a global economic power. And in the second term, he had a rights based agenda which redistributed that power and that wealth among the people. So when I see today uh, all the world leaders giving him so much support, and all the messages which are coming globally, I think that he had been right in his time, but we could not uh, understand him fully as a country. And our homage to him could be only what the work he started to take that work to its meaningful conclusion. And I've also written about it. There are so many calls from people from India, from abroad, um, giving him tributes. The best tribute I think we can give Mr. Manmohan Singh is that to give him a place for his legacy in our country.
If I may ask you, sir, what will be or what is the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Two things here. Number one, his mantra of about India's economy, and that was that India's entrepreneurship of Indian people is absolutely immense. It can achieve anything. If you talk about his financial decisions, which he took from 1991 onwards, and to the end of his second term, which was excuse me, in 2013, when a new FDI policy was launched, and when he said very famously that money doesn't grow on trees, this whole his effort to give Indians a chance to flourish. Number one. Number two, the policies which were built on this economic power which India was becoming slowly, was that right to information, right to education, Aadhaar, Manrega, right to food. Now, all these policies we have seen in the last 10 years, the critics of these policies have been implementing those policies with double the zest, with double the power. So that is the legacy he's left. That India is a country where, by economic reforms, you can unleash the spirits, he used to say, of a country, but then to redistribute it among the people on different ways. He was not only an economic reformer, he was also a democratic reformer. He wanted India to be a democratic power and a modern democratic power. And that is what we have been seeing, the kind of laws which have been enacted during his time. We see only in very rich countries. If you go to Nordic countries, I mean, they have these kinds of power of gender, of geography, of uh, information. These powers, he wanted everyone to enjoy those powers, and that's what he has been saying all along his life. But due to people wanted that power from him, there was a lot of tug of war, and sometimes very ugly. And I was also witness to that, and that is over. And I hope that he had seen that in his own life. I just met him a few months back when he was quite ill, and the humility with which he wielded that power was that he could not get up from his chair, but he wanted to get up from his chair and wanted to see me off to the porch where my car was waiting. So that's the kind of a person we are dealing with, and only very few people in this country, people like Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, they realized the goodness of Manmohan Singh, and they stuck with him and they supported him all along. Otherwise, many people could not understand. He was like an elephant that five blind men are trying to figure out what that person was.
What sort of a schedule did Dr. Manmohan Singh keep? I mean to say, you travel with him all over the world. The job of the press advisor is both formal and intimate at the same time. You know, it's a very tough job. So how did you deal with a man who was so reticent in terms of, as you very rightly said, giving interviews? So how did you, to use the word of journalism, flesh him
We,
out for the journalists?
we used to joke in our office with senior officers that we were all younger to him. He was in his late 70s and early 80s, and we couldn't keep up with him. At 8 in the morning, the office will open, and he'll be at work until 8 in the evening, at least 12 hours. We were all on like standby, and trying to talk to him about, when I remember when I went with the whole plan and to tell him that the government needed a social media policy. So at that time there was only one department of the government which was very active on social media, and that was the Ministry of External Affairs. And we were the only office which went on social media after that. And he discussed with me, and I explained things to him, and he said very simply that I am unable to grasp the importance or what you are saying, but you are a professional, and I'm sure that you will do a very good job. And I give you all my blessings. That's what his attitude was, that he found good people, and he gave them power. Unlike many world leaders, he did not want to be personally uh, glorified about what he did. When I joined, I remember I was told by the principal secretary that your budget is not even 1 rupee. I didn't spend even 1 rupee in 28 months. I was there from office accounts. I used to call journalists and for tea and coffee and sometimes samosas and pakoras, and that money used to come from the pocket kitty of snacks which were distributed for the officials of the Prime Minister's office. Not 1 rupee, he said very clearly. I do not want to be seen. as someone who is using the perks of this office. I don't need it. My work will speak for itself. So it was very difficult to talk to him. I remember the last press conference he had, and I believe you were also
Yes,
present at that press
yes.
conference. Uh, we had made a list of about 100 journalists, and I went to him before the press conference that this is the questions they'll be expecting. He'll be expecting to answer. And I remember it was about a 26-page long dossier of 100 questions about the whole, his entire 10 years of work and whatever we had anticipated. He looked through the pages and then said, like, I know all this, and you don't worry, I'll handle it. And he handled that very well. So when it came to speaking to the press, he could handle anything. I mean, all kind of tough questions people asked him. Not a single question was planted. Not, I did not talk to any of the journalists which were there. I just, I had so much trust in him and his ability because he had actually done the work and he knew what work he had done. And he was so confident about it. And he just sat there for more than an hour and asked, and he answered every question. People ran out of questions after that, I remember. And then he said, okay, fine. And he didn't even talk to me after that press conference, that how did it go? I said, I have said whatever I had to say. They have asked whatever they had to ask. And but you remember a number of answers he gave in that press conference were taken up very badly by the opposition at that time. But he was totally unfazed because of the confidence, because of the courage of his conviction, because of his hard work. He didn't need to tom his work, and he didn't need to glorify himself. He didn't need to grandstand because he said that my work will work. My it will speak
Wa-
about whatever.
was he ever bitter about the sort of scathing attacks that were being launched by then uh, leader of opposition, Raj Sabha, Lok Sabha? Was he bits ever?
He was he was not bitter. He was pained. He felt that pain that people are attacking him because they wanted the seat he was sitting in. And he understood it very well that this was not personal because personally he had very good relations with people, even his opposition and opponents. I remember the last meeting of Telangana bifurcation happened, and leaders of the BJP were called to that meeting. Mr. Advani was there, Mr. Jetli was there, Srimati Swaraj was there, and at that time they were every day they were saying something really uh, bitter about him, but he met them with a smile, and he said afterwards that everyone has to be on board. This is something which is going to be historic for the country, and this cannot be undone. We are taking a very big decision, and all the people who are stakeholders have to be involved in that decision. So he took it in his stride, sometimes with a pinch of salt, and sometimes very amusingly. You will be shocked that sometimes all this bitterness which was going on the media at that time, he will just laugh about it. He'll just ask me, "So, Pankaj, what is the state of play?" And I'll tell him that so and so done this and so written that. I said, "You forget reading the papers." He said, "I have not read the papers much, and I'll make a brief for him whenever possible and discuss with him." And sometimes I'll tell him we should do this and we should do that. And he was the kind of person who refused to go to media functions. I remember that, a lot of media people wanted to invite him to the conclaves and the summits they have. And he'll say there are more people who can talk about these subjects than me. And I'm sure they'll find someone opportune and someone who can, discuss all these things. And I'd not like to go. So it was decided that at least once a year he should go to one. And that was for me, was a big win at that time if he agreed to go to one such function in a whole year.
So
And
I really have to ask this. I know I had called you, you were in America. You can pass this question, but I really have to ask this. When this entire thing was taking place, when the whole ordinance was torn apart, the whole drama took place, and how did Dr. Singh react to it? Because when he came back, uh, he was not, he didn't look very much bothered by it. So,
See, people outside don't know much. And by that time he came back, we had asked Rahul Gandhi. I dealt with him personally. And we had sent a sort of a letter which he was supposed to write. And he sent that letter, which was part of an, which sounded like which was an apology actually, because it did affect his work there. We were supposed to, we had done our main work in Washington D.C. We had talked to President Obama. It was a bilateral, and we were in New York at that time, and he was going to speak at the General Assembly. So he did say, and he was a bit quizzical about it, that why did this happen? And I told him that they are writing a letter and it will be done very soon. And the letter came. I showed him the letter, that this is the letter the Congress MP at that time, Rahul Gandhi, had written. And he said, okay, okay. And his relations with Rahul Gandhi were absolutely as they were. Nothing happened. He came back. Rahul went and met him, and it was back as usual. He used to take his advice a lot. Rahul used to come and meet him, and he had told me personally a number of times that I've asked him a number of times to join the cabinet and be part of governance, and that's the best way to learn things in India is to be to do what you keep talking about. So he refused at that time. He had his reasons, but it was very convivial sort of relationship after that. And he was, as I said, he always knew that the his critics had an agenda, and he was coming uh, uh, between the critics and the kursi he was sitting in, and that's why he knew that he had to face all this with a smile. And that's how he took it. He was almost like, I used to feel at times in the middle of all this vicious attacks against him, I used to go and meet him, and he'll be smiling and he'll be asking me something about a trip somewhere or something, that we are going on this and what should do, and how's the press behaving with it, are you taking the press with you? And he'll take it with a smile, and he looked like a yogi basically, who was not worried about these attacks,
you
because he
use the word
understood.
yogi, sir. He was the prime minister at a time when there were heavyweights in his cabinet. There were heavyweights in the party. You had multiple power centers. How did he manage all of these? I mean to say, look at his cabinet of the first and the second UPA. You had all the big leaders there, and then you had Rahul Gandhi making his way into the center of Congress politics. You had Congress President, then Sonia Gandhi, NAC. So how did Prime Minister work it out? A lot of people criticized him for that. He does not have that power. How did he deal with that? How did he wrestle with that as a person and discharge this duty of being Prime Minister of India?
He understood the role of the prime minister very well. Prime minister in Indian scheme of things is first among equals, and he understood it very well, and he talked about it. And he actually, I mean, people think that there was a war going on within the cabinet. He was very respectful of these senior people. He always called Pranab Mukherjee Pranab Da in cabinet meetings. He'll always take counsel of Sharad Pawar and these people. Mr. Chidambaram used to be in and out on many issues because he was the finance minister. And excuse me. And this whole thing going outside about around that there's a power struggle was not true. See, the power struggle at that time, and I had promised him I'll not write anything about that period. till he is around. And I write about it one day that the whole struggle was basically not to replace Manmohan Singh. The struggle was about who will be next after Manmohan Singh. That was the struggle about, and that's why the people in the Congress party wanted to be Rahul Gandhi's Manmohan Singh, and that's what they were joking about. And it was not to replace Manmohan Singh because they knew that Mrs. Gandhi had absolute 101% trust in Mr. Singh, and he will not be replaced. Everyone knew that.
So,
So the struggle was about that.
absolutely, sir. Current Prime Minister's diplomatic posture is different from Dr. Manmohan Singh. But Dr. Manmohan Singh's gentleness and his diplomatic approach was as effective as the current Prime Minister. So how did it work out uh, when you would travel Prime Minister with the world leaders? You know, there must have been a different Manmohan Singh at play because we don't have those visuals, we don't have those, the so-called, because Manmohan Singh was media shy, never allowed so many cameras. So you don't have that visual picture of Dr. Singh abroad. You had those broader photographs, stills, or shoots, but you don't get intimate Manmohan Singh there. So how was it he like? How was he like when he met leaders like Obama,
Obama
Bush?
was like a Obama was like a very eager host whenever he met Manmohan Singh. He was like a young man who wanted to learn something from him. And each time, I still remember when we reached the White House, and it was against protocol, and he just came out. He just came out in the porch to receive him as he was getting out of the car. I mean, it doesn't happen in White House that the president is waiting for a car to come and open and all that. So Obama was like that. He always had a very good relationship with him, and he treated him like guru. He said it. He's like the guru. And then you have he had a very good relationship with people for the simple reason that his humility was absolutely uh, uh, amazing. He would take calls from German Chancellor Angela Merkel. She did not know much English. She did not know much German, and a call which was supposed to be for 40 minutes will go over 1.5 hours because of the translation. She talked to him a number of times about issues, and he always told her that what use is wealth, a national wealth, if it's not uh, distributed among the people, or the people do not enjoy the fruit of that wealth. See, he always do that. I remember going to Tehran once, and the spiritual leader, Mr. Khamenei, called him for a meet and greet, which was supposed to be 15 minutes of 20 minutes, and they were sitting together talking about for about 45 minutes, and we were all saying that we are late, and there are other heads of state who are waiting to meet him. And when he came out, and it turned out that he was taking his advice, Mr. Singh's advice, about how to deal with the ethnicity. He said that we have only two ethnic groups, Shias and Sunni, and you have various ethnic groups, and how do you deal with it? It went on for 45 minutes, and it was just a casual conversation. I remember Sheikh Hasina once, we were crossing in the UN headquarters, and she just stopped. She just stopped, and she just wanted to talk to him. And there were the two delegations, coming across each other. And then he said, "Okay, let's sit down and talk." And they sat down on a sofa in a lounge in a corridor of UNGA building, and they were talking for about 10-15 minutes, and she must have had something very important to ask him. So his relationship with the people was like that, and that's why he could get along with these world leaders with such uh, confidence.
How did he manage his relationship? Like, for example, late Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, you said, it was a very cordial relationship. How did he manage his relationship of old party veterans and he, someone who enjoyed full confidence of Sonia Gandhi?
He knew. I mean, everyone says that he was not a politician. He was a bureaucrat and technocrat. You
Is it
can't be
true?
prime
Is it
minister of
correct?
India.
Is this image
You
correct,
can't
sir?
be prime minister of India for 10 years if you don't understand politics. He did understand politics. And his way to deal with the politics was that you give due respect to everyone. People like Pranab Mukherjee were senior leaders in the party. I mean, actually, Pranab Mukherjee was the finance minister much before him. In the RBI, he was there before Manmohan Singh. So, and that's what he did. And he won over his critics by his humility. As simple as that. And that was his big trick. He had a vision of India, of India's economy, and then he had this consensus-making ability to implement that vision. And then he had this almost a guardian-like persona, which he worked with humility, and that's what made the whole thing work.
Question, sir, before I let go of you. Uh, when you joined the office, first day, what did then Prime Minister Dr. Singh tell you when you walked into that office? I know I was in Uttar Pradesh. I got, someone told me that, you have taken over. What did the Prime Minister tell you then?
I don't remember the first day because there were a lot of officials who went with me to meet him in the morning when thing. But after joining the office, I once went to 7 RCR in his study, as he called it. It was actually home office. And he just, he was sitting and writing something, and there was a bunch of files on one side. I have that picture with me because I took a picture. And he said that I'm just a small man sitting in this big chair. And as long as I remember that, everything goes well. And then he went on to say that he didn't ask me that how you're going to do media and all that kind of a thing. He said, you are here and you are from that profession. I hope that you know everything and what to do, and I have full trust in you, and you have my blessings. That's how it started.
He said? That's all he said, sir?
That's all he said.
Thank you so much. Huh?
You have all my blessings.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Pachauri, for joining us, for giving such an insightful detail in the time and life of late Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Thank you for joining me on News9, sir.